Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. We have breaking news out of California coming into our newsroom now. A jury has reached a verdict in the Lover Stalker Murder Trial for Jesse Alvarez. Alvarez faces life in prison for the murder of his ex-girlfriend's new fiancé, Catholic school teacher Mario Fierro, back in February of 2021. Alvarez took the stand during his trial to tell the jury his side of the story, saying he had shot in self-defense.
He got his fingers around the trigger and he pulled it and the gun discharged, and I screamed because I was so afraid.
All right, so as soon as anything happens in that courtroom, we are going to take you there live. We are just waiting. We got our eyes on that courtroom. And while we wait for the verdict to come in, I do want to listen to some of the testimony from the victim's fiancée. She's the subject of the defendant's self-proclaimed obsession. Take a listen.
It was a couple of days after school got out for break that I went there with a family member. And I remember getting off of a ride, walking around the park, and I hear my name. And the voice was the defendant's. And I remember being with my family member and trying to keep walking. And the defendant just came walking right next to me and kept being in my face trying to talk to me. And even though I'd not acknowledged him being there, and I don't remember the exact conversation, but it was just like, I don't want to talk to you. And my family member and I tried to continue walking away from him. And we tried looking for someone from security of the park because we didn't feel safe. And he kept trying to have a conversation, like, we need to talk. I want to talk to you. What's going on? What are you up to? Things like that. And I just remember my family member and I were able to just walk more quickly away. And that's what I recall.
Did you tell him you were going to Disneyland?
No.
Why didn't you feel safe?
Because I thought I was just going there to have fun and just to enjoy something during the break, and I didn't know that he was going to be there.
And was this soon after you two broke up?
This was several months after.
So before you filed for a restraining order?
Yes.
At some point, did you feel the need to relocate?
Yes.
Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. Shortly after I saw that the defendant attempted to get into my apartment, I knew that I didn't feel safe because I told him no. So I ended up moving to another apartment, and it was not something that I shared publicly with people about that moving. And I felt safer by being in a spot that was a new location.
All right, as we continue to await the verdict, I want to bring in our guest. Joining us to discuss, LA County Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé is with us, and retired Police Commander Mike King is with us as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on the program this hour. Philip, I'll start with you. You know, her testimony was heartbreaking to me because anytime you have these cases and you have these women, or even it can be a man as well, we certainly can't distinguish between the two, that person is in such a difficult situation. And you heard her testifying. She wanted to feel safe. She did what she thought was right. There's so many little decisions that you make, but if someone wants to stalk you, if someone wants to track you down, if someone wants to make your life miserable, they can certainly find a way to do it.
Oh, they sure can. And I've learned over the years in representing many stalkers that a restraining order doesn't deter them. It's just a piece of paper. You know, the only thing that comes out of it is that they get served their order to stay away. But short of locking them up or getting them into treatment, it's very hard to stop the obsession. They are some of the most difficult clients to treat because they can't let go of this fixated obsession that they have. And by the way, it's not always ex-lovers. It could be a very anonymous, casual encounter with somebody where all of a sudden they feel the need to be a part of their life and they can't let go, even when their presence is unwelcome. And it sounds like this young lady did whatever she could. You know, she changed her locks, she got security systems, she even tried to get a TRO. Judge denied it, and it didn't deter this man. He still kept pursuing her, and then ultimately we'll see if it results in a homicide finding by the jury as to her new beau.
Yeah, Mike King, you know what was fascinating about her testimony as well? She was moving, but she said she wasn't telling folks why she was moving. And that's one of the things that also surprises you and scares you, really, when you hear about these cases. Oftentimes, the person being stalked is, and I don't want to use the word ashamed, but they're not sharing the way they should be sharing for whatever reason. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's one of the biggest tragedies of this domestic violence cycle that we see happening. Not only are there the cycles that suggest that people will return to the abuser and the situation because of some fear of letting the world or their family or their closest friends know that they're being victimized in this matter. But in some cases, these people think that they might be able to somehow fix or change the situation. And there's this moral challenge that they go through where they start even putting some of the responsibility on themselves. And it makes absolutely no sense to those of us who are free of that kind of conflict and that we can critically examine these kinds of cases and look at them. But they're challenged with this idea that, did I have something to do with this, or is there something I can do to make it better? But above all, and especially in a case like this and the way you're describing this, Michael, I think we have to consider the fact that sometimes people are more embarrassed and allow themselves to have greater risk in their life because they don't want to admit, maybe I made a bad mistake, or I made a bad decision, or I'm in an ugly situation and I don't know how to get out.
Yeah, and this is one of those odd ones, Philip, because there was this long-term relationship. I don't know, in your experience, and you correct me if I'm wrong, oftentimes when you have a longer-term relationship, the stalking, you know, all right, Philip, I'm being told that that verdict is just about ready to come in, so please stand by. Philip, Mike King, I want to take everybody out to California for the verdict in California versus Jesse Alvarez.
Thank you.
All right, this is in the people of the state of California in the county and for San Diego, the people of the state of California versus Jesse Milton Alvarez, case number SCD 288940. Verdict count one, we, the jury in the above entitled cause, find the defendant, Jesse Milton Alvarez, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree in violation of Penal Code Section 187A as charged in count one of the information and fix the degree thereof as murder in the first degree. And we further find the defendant, Jesse Milton Alvarez, true in that he intentionally and personally discharged a firearm, to it a 9mm firearm, and approximately caused the death of Mario Fierro within the meaning of Penal Code Section 12022.53 parens D. And we further find that the murder of Mario Fierro was committed by defendant Jesse Milton Alvarez True, who intentionally killed Mario Fierro by means of lying in wait within the meaning of Penal Code Section 190.2A, parens 15. This is dated today's date and signed by Juror 6, the presiding juror. I'll also note for any appellate record that the verdict forms, the remaining verdict forms, were not filled out as required under 640. All right. Does either side want to poll the jury? All right, very good. Madam Clerk, can you please record the verdicts? Does counsel waive reading of the verdicts as recorded?
Yes.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, first of all, I'm going to thank you very much for your jury services. It was a fairly long trial and it's fairly emotional, but your service is greatly appreciated. On behalf of all the judges of the Superior Court, I extend my great attitude to you. Now that the case is over, you can choose who you want to talk to the case about, all right? My previous admonition no longer applies, and under California law, I have to tell you this, that you can't negotiate for 90 days about your rights on the case. All right, if you want to sell your movie rights or your book rights, you have to wait 90 days. We also will be sealing your names, and because we've only referred to you as numbers throughout the entire trial, that's all that's in the official record. The names that we originally had, those have been sealed and can only be opened upon my court order, and I would notify you if I had to do that first, but I haven't done it in 22 years. If somebody contacts you in any way, please let the court know immediately. When you leave here, there may be people who want to talk to you. You don't have to talk to them. You can leave right away. But if somebody unreasonably tries to contact you, let this court know as soon as possible. I want to also make clear to you that when you serve as jurors, you do the duty of the democracy, right? It's really important. You get to participate in the democracy in two places. One, when you vote for your elected officials, and the other is when you sit as jurors and you vote after you hear the government put a case on. This is how representative democracy works. And, you know, there's often a lot of publicity about juries and maybe criticism of juries. But the problem with that, any criticism of the jury or the jury system, is those people never sat in the entire trial and they only watched sound bites of it on the evening news. When juries make decisions, they make decisions based on the evidence they received during the trial and the law as I instructed in this case. And you had the full picture of what occurred in this case. Both sides put on it, you know, a vigorous amount of evidence, and there was good, healthy cross-examination, and there was a lot of evidence for you to consider throughout the trial. My point is that whatever your decision is, because you are the finders of fact in this case, would be the right decision, right? So whether you found the defendant guilty or not guilty, whatever that decision is, whatever a decision is by a jury, it's the right decision, does not deserve to be criticized in any way. You sat through this entire trial, you listened to all the evidence, you followed my instructions, you made the right decision. Okay? So as you leave here, I just want to again extend my gratitude and my thanks for being willing participants in this case. I know it's tough, and if you need any help, let the court know, but you're excused now. Thank you very much. Follow Sam, please.
All right, so there you heard it. A California jury has found that man there, Jesse Alvarez, guilty of first-degree murder. With two special circumstances, he discharged a firearm while committing that offense and also lying in wait. Facts did not work in his favor. We found out that he searched how to kill someone, he bought a gun, took shooting lessons, asked his instructor what's the best way to kill someone, and then he sat outside the apartment of this individual. He claimed he just wanted to talk to him. He didn't quite understand what was going on, ended up having to shoot him in self-defense, but this jury felt otherwise, that he murdered him in cold blood. All right, let's bring in our guest, still here to discuss. LA County Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé is with us, and also Mike King. He's a retired police commander. All right, Mike, I'm going to start with you and get your reaction. The facts certainly weren't in favor of this defense, and we'll talk about the mental health aspect of this in just a minute, but your reaction to the verdict.
Well, I think that you've laid out a wonderful bit of information here, in the fact that this young man went in and he pulled the trigger, I think 6 times, Michael, and these gunshots were to the face and to the head. This, to me, clearly points to the fact that there's a lot of deep anger. But when you add the behavior of him going back and getting lessons and acquiring a weapon, and the fantasy process that had to have been going on as he prepared for and laid in wait, it makes it pretty easy to see how this jury came to the decision they did so quickly.
Yeah, and it actually wasn't as quick as I would have expected, Philip. They deliberated for a few hours on Friday, came back this morning, came back with their verdict, which would have been East Coast time, about 5 o'clock or so, actually 3 o'clock or so. So maybe 5-6 hours of deliberations. And maybe they took into consideration this idea that he was on the autism spectrum, perhaps suffered from some OCD. That's what he took the stand to essentially tell them. I'm sure you've seen this before in these types of cases. How do you think that might have played into the minds of the jurors, but also just in general in this case?
Well, I think preliminarily that the jury was probably initially struggling on whether or not the prosecution met its burden as to the special allegations. So in other words, separate and apart from the murder itself, the jury has to sit down and really decide, A, if it was premeditated, B, then they have to decide whether or not it was done while lying in wait. So I think that they probably, in relatively quick order, found that he was guilty of the murder. But the question then becomes, what degree will it become? If they find those special allegations true, first of all, he would get 25 to life. But if they find, in addition to it being premeditated, that it was done while lying in wait, it carries life without parole. And frankly, if this were in a different county, he would be death eligible. Those are special circumstances in California that could send you to the death chamber. That's how serious this charge was. Now, as for the neurodiverse aspect of it, to be quite honest with you, Michael, I think it's a slap in the face to people on the autism spectrum to suggest that merely because you may be autistic or suffer some type of neurodiverse setback in life, that would render you homicidal. It's an affront, really, to people who are in honest and fair treatment dealing with their setbacks. So I think the jury got this one right.
Yeah, people with that level of autism or on the autism spectrum have wonderful relationships all the time. I agree with you, and very well said there, Philip. Truly appreciate it.